feel like just staring at the camera for 8 minutes. I feel like that's my review and my reaction of this game, because that's just... man. What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City video. We're going to be doing my match reaction, match analysis, a match review of Manchester City simply bottling a 2-0 lead at home against Crystal Palace, and more drop points for Manchester City. More questions come about this Manchester City side. We'll digest all that in this video. So before I do crack on with it, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, please do subscribe. It is free to subscribe, so that'd be much appreciated. Social media links there in the description if you want to go and check out my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below. What are you unhappy with? What's going wrong at Manchester City? Why are we bottling 2-0 leads against Crystal Palace with 15 minutes remaining? What's gone wrong for City? Get it in the comments, guys. Also, don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. I know there's nothing really to like about this, but it does help me to know that you guys are digging the vids. So let's crack on then with this match review. And I wish the full-time whistle was on 75 minutes, because I would sit here and I would say to you guys that was a well-managed situation for Manchester City. They put the ball in the back of the net when they needed to put the ball into the back of the net. They snuffed out any opportunities for Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace didn't really look like they were going to do anything against Manchester City. They looked down and out, 1 point in 5 games. Manchester City finally finding their feet, getting that important victory, going up to second place, pressure onto Liverpool, ahead of Arsenal, ahead of Aston Villa. Double thumbs up. I end the video and I say have a great weekend, guys. Off we go. But that is the perfect world, and we do not live in a perfect world. Manchester City bottle a 2-0 lead. So the first couple of goals for Manchester City, we'll go through them. Jack Grealish scores again. Positive. Very happy with that. Well taken goal into the bottom corner. City had a goal disallowed in the second half for offside in the build-up to a cross-come shot that came in from Julian Alvarez from a set piece. Very disappointing to be offside in the build-up of a set-piece that's been played in when you're literally able to look across the line. A real big bugbear of mine, that being offside from a free kick when you literally have to just time your run to perfection. You know everything's right in front of you. The game's not being played in real time. You're not having to worry about runs being made, or is somebody dropping deeper? Is someone committed further forward? No, there's a defensive line there. You can look across the line. To me, you should not be at this level, this standard that we're looking at for a team as good as Manchester City. You should not be offside from a set piece. And Manchester City, it's such a well-worked, well-crafted goal. Rodri knew to leave that. It's clearly something off the training ground that City have been working on. It's a mistimed run. It's City have gone too early, or Crystal Palace have had a higher up defensive line than they were expecting, and it wasn't to be, but we didn't have to worry about that. That's the killer 2-goal cushion. Literally 60 seconds later, Rico Lewis puts the ball into the back of that. There wasn't, for me, a handball in the build-up, so I'm not having anybody complain about handball in the build-up. It's a well-taken goal for Rico Lewis, and I'm happy with that. Manchester City are 2-0 up. That's what we've been looking for. I do want to add, I thought Ederson were pretty lucky to stay on the pitch. That interception that came in the first half with Crystal Palace coming forward for literally the first time. Ederson is late. He doesn't get really near the ball. If the player stays on his feet, does he gather up control? There's certainly some kind of goal-scoring opportunity. And I'll tell you right now, if that was at the other end, I'd be very unhappy that Dean Henderson had stayed on the pitch. And Dean Henderson pulled off a couple of really good saves to keep Crystal Palace in this game. And that's the important part here. City haven't done enough to kill this game off. Killer 2-goal cushion is fantastic. 2-goal leads, 2-0 leads. They're dangerous leads. They're the most dangerous leads out there. You don't know whether to commit and keep pushing for the third goal. You don't know whether to defend it off. And if the team that scores next is the opposition and it's a 1-goal cushion, it becomes a very nervy ending. And you don't want to overcommit, but you want to be cool, calm and collective on the ball. And there is the fatal mistake for Manchester City. We didn't look like adding a third for my liking. We should have, in response to that, gone at Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace were always going to commit men forward. There was going to be space left, right and centre. Pep should have been looking towards the bench. Players like Matheus Nunes, Oscar Bobb, get them onto the pitch to put in good performances against Red Star. Get them on the pitch, get the fresh legs on, take that game back to Palace. Force them onto the back foot, because Palace took it easy once they scored that goal for the next 4 or 5 minutes, trying to just contain it, keep it at a 1-goal lead, that it always keeps things in hope for them. And that's where Manchester City went wrong. They didn't do enough. The situation that they found themselves in wasn't managed. There is a lack of leadership at Manchester City, in my complete honest opinion. I'd be looking towards captain Kyle Walker to really take this game by the scruff of the neck, to lead by example, to give rockets up the arse basically to the players that need it, to get Manchester City inspired, to get going again. And there was nothing, I didn't think, from Manchester City. They just looked down and out. We've won our last couple of games. We picked up a good win away from home against Luton last weekend. We made lots of changes in our match against Red Star, and we picked up a really good win with quite a few academy players out there. There's momentum there. You need to really know when to take hold of the game and take charge and take that leadership, and it's just not there. And the danger that we've got now because of this result, it leaves Tottenham tailgating us literally. Manchester City don't play next weekend. Spurs do. Spurs win that game, they go over Manchester City, we drop out the top 4. Teams are playing next weekend. Teams are playing on Boxing Day. The next time Manchester City play against Everton away from home, there's going to be sides out there around us that have played 2 games more than City. They win them games. They have them points. City are under tremendous pressure now. I'm not looking towards the Premier League title. I know some of you guys out there are saying we're not winning the Premier League. I'm not even thinking about the Premier League. I'm not thinking about 4 in a row. I'm thinking about another 4. It's called the top 4. That's where my concern is. Manchester City have gone 3 consecutive Premier League home games without a win. We have won 1 in our last 6 Premier League games. That isn't form that's going to win you a Premier League. That's form that's going to see you go from first to outside the top 4, because that's how tight the gap will be. Start thinking about the Premier League, the gap will be 9-10 points more than likely by the time Manchester City are next playing. That's where the danger is. Now, I'm not ruling out City making a push in the second half of the season. Manchester City are always better in the second half of the season, but we're pushing ourselves to the very limit. You can't season upon season upon season keep relying on our form in the second half of the season. You cannot keep doing that. There's a whole variety of reasons why Man City find themselves in the situation that they're in. Whether it be the lack of preparation pre-season, whether it be a poor summer transfer window, whether that be motivation amongst the players, whether that be letting players like Riyad Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan and Cole Palmer leave the club. There's a whole manner of reasons why we find ourselves where we are. We don't have any control of that anymore. You have control of what happens in the future. We had control of this game against Crystal Palace. We bottled it. We blew it. We have to accept that. We have to learn from that, because the margin for error now is so fine. The pressure that City have, if City want to win the Premier League, I'll tell you what it'll take for City to do. 12, 13 games in a row, you've got to win them games. That's what it'll take for City to win this Premier League. We are capable of doing that. The problem is, right now, we just don't look like we are going to do that. That's where the problem is. This continues into December. For me, it causes problems. We don't beat Everton in our next game, it's 1 win in 7. And I'll tell you right now, we don't beat Sheffield United at home, that's the end of the Premier League title. You don't deserve to win a Premier League title if you're playing against Sheffield United at home and you do not win that game. There's a whole manner of things that aren't right at Manchester City. As I said, there's stuff we have control of. Things like the defensive lineup. Kyle Walker out, Akanji back in, Josko Gvardiol out, go with the back 3, So Kyle Walker comes out, Akanji comes back in. Akanji's a better defender than Kyle Walker. Akanji's tried and tested. Akanji on that right-hand side helped us beat teams like Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, to win the Champions League, to win the Premier League. I go with Akanji on that right-hand side ahead of Kyle Walker. Ruben Dias through the middle. Nathan Ake's tried and tested on that left-hand side. Not putting him through the centre. He goes on to that left-hand side. Josko Gvardiol, you're unlucky to miss out, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm not here to worry about individuals getting their minutes and getting their progress. I'm concerned about Manchester City and picking up 3 points. I couldn't care less what players are on the pitch as long as they're winning games and picking up them 3 points. I don't care if there's players out there that are unhappy with their playing time as long as Manchester City are winning them games. Johnstone, Rodri going in defensive midfield. There was no support for Manchester City's midfield today. They didn't really need that support, but it just wasn't there in them important moments. And how easy was it for Crystal Palace to create just 2 shots on target and 2 goals? That penalty to give it away in the situation in the 94th minute, what a joke from Manchester City. This whole performance today, it was measured. The first 75 minutes, I'm happy with. The last 15 minutes, it's a complete joke from Manchester City. And whilst them situations are still there and we have the inability to keep clean sheets and defend, we are not going to have a good season. Thankfully, there's plenty of time still to turn this right around, and they need to be having a good, long, hard think when we come back from Saudi Arabia after the Club World Cup. Big games against Everton, big game against Sheffield United. Win them games. Nice positive end to 2023. There aren't that many games in January. You can focus week on week with the team, with the teams that we've got to face and the players that need to be selected for that game, and they damn well need to learn how to manage a situation far better than what they're managing at the moment, because I am week on week getting more and more concerned about Manchester City. And at some point you're going to hit a loggerhead of the big decisions need to be made. Whether them decisions are players who should be around the first team squad are no longer around the first team squad. The January winter transfer window comes in. You're letting these players go and you're bringing fresh new energy into the club. I certainly want to see City dipping into the market in the January winter transfer window. Tottenham are talking about doing it. Chelsea are talking about doing it. The teams around us are talking about improving their team whilst we're sat here basically just doing nothing. That, again, causes me more concern. And to me, we've got the best manager in the world. I want to see more from this Manchester City team. Pep Guardiola's not scared to make them big decisions. I'm not going to be one of them reactionary people that sits here and says Pep Guardiola's job needs to be put under pressure. It doesn't. There's no one better out there than Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola knows what it takes to turn things around. He knows what it takes because he's a world-class manager. He makes them big decisions. Pep Guardiola, I have no doubt, will turn this around for Manchester City because he is just so good. I wouldn't rule out Manchester City putting in 2 fantastic performances in the Club World Cup and coming home with another trophy. Extra motivation for the players. It's these Premier League games you need to be applying themselves for. And I once again go back to the point that I've been making week on week on week. Since we've won the treble, the motivation isn't there for the players, and it's causing me concern. There's something not right at Manchester City. I cannot put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's to do with the 115 charges. I don't know whether it's to players knowing a bit of information. Maybe Pep Guardiola wants to leave Manchester City at some point. I'm just speculating here, by the way. I don't know whether it's unhappy players or there's just something. The João Cancelo situation last winter was the very same. There was just something that weren't right at Manchester City. It was causing all kinds of disruption to the team, and we're getting it again here this season. There's something not quite right at City, and it took us to February to get it sorted last season. I'm a bit fearful this season with the amount of teams ahead of us and the game in hand and stuff, and the difficult running that we've got in that second half of the season. It's just going to be too difficult for Manchester City to sort it out. And remember, we built our expectation up. The expectation at Manchester City now is you don't win the Premier League or you don't win the Champions League. It's a very disappointing season. And at the moment, I'm looking over my shoulder at Tottenham, at Newcastle, because potentially they could both be over Manchester City by the time we play our next game against Everton. We could be down in 6. That's how concerned I am right now. If they do their job and win them games, City's run of form running away from them. It wasn't exactly a fluent performance last weekend when we won against Luton, but we won, so I can shrug it off. Plenty to think about. Would love to know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. Don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new around here. Social media links in the description. Go and check them out as well. That'd be much appreciated. Email also in there if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. I'm just absolutely flat out. I'm absolutely exhausted. So take it easy, guys. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.